Hate in my community looks like abandoned houses. It looks like empty fields. It looks like joblessness, homelessness. It looks like lack of people coming together in community and having enough community spaces for people to gather in positive ways.
There's a lack of love, and when you have a lack of love, you start to go closer towards the spectrum of hate.
So hate in my community where I live is primarily black and brown. It looks like the lack of investment, poverty is hate.
Hate looks like 514 in my community where there was a massacre of killings of African American people. Destroyed our community shortly, but was also able to help us, I believe at this point, start to rebuild, to come back together even stronger than we were before.
Hate has shown up in our community in some pretty dramatic ways. The first that comes to mind, of course, is the Tops Massacre on 5/14 and the ripple effect from that. One of our greatest challenges is to bring these difficult and important conversations to more insular communities, more homogenous communities where it seems to be a breeding ground for hate.
I think there's a lot of hate, obviously, within the white community, and I think that it has a very deep impact, especially here in Buffalo. I see a lot of that within just like the redlining that's existed for so long. It still does, and also big events such as 514.
The hate that I see in my community, I am African, and so I feel like leftovers of colonialism and chattel slavery has led us to a point where most Africans almost feel better than African Americans or rip on them and are almost pitted against them and are made to see them as lazy or a bunch of other negative adjectives. Which true, I think that it's just stemming from white supremacy and the model minority myth. And
in my community, hate is not understanding the full story. It's not understanding someone's history.
Growing up as a member of two marginalized communities, both being Puerto Rican and being a member of the LGBT community, I have unfortunately faced numerous acts of hate, implicit biases, discrimination, barriers, and so forth.
I think unity and inclusion starts with being able to be in places and spaces where people can be their authentic self.
So I feel like the east side of Buffalo is like a big happy family. Like we all belong to each other and we all need each other. And I think that, you know, since the massacre of 514, it came to my realization that, you know, we're nothing without each other.
The message of unity and inclusion I would like to share is to keep an open mind, to always be open to receive information regardless of what the shell looks like. That could be different ethnic backgrounds, that could be people with different levels of disability, that could be people who just practice other religions.
Do the best that you can when the opportunity is there.
We're all different, right? Even within groups, like white groups and black groups and immigrant groups, there's differences. My message of unity is step outside your comfort zone.
Just be a sponge, just be open to life. I think when we get so caught up and limited into our own lives, it's hard to be able to respect, see, or acknowledge others, other cultures, other backgrounds, just other than what you're used to.
So I think with hope and compassion, there's two other words, empathy and love, that needs to go in that. I think we need to create, again, ways to come together and share in our stories.
The more compassion that you have for others around you, the more unity we'll have amongst each other.
I think that hope and compassion can drown out the hate.
Hope and compassion are skills that sometimes can be lost, especially if you have experienced a great deal of trauma, rejection, oppression, and you lose those things. But hope and compassion gives way for reconciliation.
Hope, compassion to address hate. I think it's just a matter of continuing to strive, just continue to go. And it always just inspires me to think back to my ancestors, those that went through slavery and just like that's all they had was hope.
I think that, you know, having hope, motivates us to still do well in our community. And I think that without hope, you know, we won't have all these amazing things that's happening in our city, especially the East Side. So we need to continue to have hope because we shouldn't give up.
So education really first and foremost starts at home. I think education in our systems and our system of education needs to start teaching true history. I think we cannot truly learn and move forward unless we really examine the history of our country.
The Greater Buffalo Racial Equity Roundtable is focused on education and building our community's capacity to even understand what racial equity is. And once people have some information to fight against the negativity or the things that they've heard about other groups, it's always warring inside, and it eventually will cause them to choose another path. And
you have to learn and unlearn things. So education, from the standpoint where we are in the social climate, is unlearning practices that have been normal. Unlearning the fact that this level or this area of a community only belongs to you and that area belongs to them, when the truth of the matter is it all belongs to all of us.
I think education plays a huge role when we talk about hate and bias, and not just a traditional classroom, teacher stand up, students in the desk type of education. I think it's just a matter of just having conversation and learning, taking those experiences and wisdoms from elders to be able to pass down those so-called, if you will, recipes. And I think it's just a matter of, once again, continuing to have an open mind and always be willing to learn.
I think education is like such a key aspect in, you know, combating the biases and the hatred that exist. And I think that's really like what they're doing here.
Knowledge is very tied to power.
Education plays a very big role as it relates to learning what previous history was, what people were taught, how they were taught, learning that there is more than one way for people to receive information.
You know, everybody can take this role of being bridges and windows to other communities. If you want other people to know you better, to understand your culture better, you have to open up yourself first.
I think hate and bias is so deeply rooted in just not knowing. It's so important for leaders to step out into the community, you know, to make an impact as far as kind of teaching people new perspectives.
Oh, maybe in school they may have a mental health counselor that kids could talk to. And also, like, we need to see a counselor that is a person that looks like us, a person of color. You know, it's hard to like share like our personal backgrounds with people that don't even come from our community.
Perceptions can become reality. And so when we create perceptions of hope, of love, of light, that can transform our actual lives.